She understood the law. She upheld it. But when a power-hungry cop pulled her over, refusing to acknowledge who she was, things took a dangerous turn, until karma struck back hard. The highway stretched out before her, nearly deserted, cutting through the night. Streetlights flickered by, their glow bouncing off the polished black sedan cruising steadily in the right lane. Veronica Caldwell had been driving for almost an hour, her thoughts still tangled in the classified briefing she had just left. Long hours, even longer nights, being the newly appointed FBI director demanded nothing less.
She was used to that.
What she wasn't used to, what she hadn't expected, was the sudden flash of red and blue lights in her rearview mirror. Her fingers instinctively tightened on the wheel, her gaze flicking to the speedometer. Exactly 65. Not a mile over. No erratic movements. No reason to be stopped. And yet, the police cruiser behind her held firm. Exhaling through her nose, she signaled right, guiding her car onto the shoulder. Years of experience told her there was nothing to worry about. She had worked alongside law enforcement her entire career. She knew the system, the protocol. But as the patrol car rolled to a stop behind her, an unease settled deep in her gut. Why was he taking so long? Too long. Adjusting her rearview mirror, she tried to get a glimpse of the officer. Finally, the driver's side door swung open. The man who stepped out wasn't familiar, which wasn't surprising. She didn't know every street cop in the state. But something about him, the way he moved, the stiff posture, the aggressive set of his shoulders, made her wary. His left hand hovered near his belt, fingers curled too close to his firearm. In his right, a flashlight swung back and forth as he approached. Veronica pressed the button, lowering her window, her hands staying visible on the steering wheel. "Evening, officer," she greeted, voice calm, professional. The flashlight swept across her face. Too long. Too intrusive. License and registration. No greeting. No explanation.
Just that.
Suppressing a sigh, she kept her tone even. "May I ask why I'm being pulled over?" The officer, still chewing gum, held her gaze just a moment too long before repeating, "License. Registration." She didn't move immediately. Instinct, the same instinct that had saved her life before, told her this was not a routine stop. She needed to take control before it spiraled. Carefully, she spoke. "Sir, I'm reaching for my purse on the passenger seat." No response. Moving deliberately, she retrieved her wallet, pulling out both her driver's license and FBI credentials. She extended them toward him. The officer didn't take them. His eyes flicked over the ID, then back to her. His expression remained unreadable. "FBI, huh?" She nodded once. "Yes, sir." A beat of silence. Then, "Step out of the vehicle." The words weren't loud, but they hit like a slap. Veronica blinked. "Excuse me?" The officer shifted back a half step, his right hand now hovering over his gun. "I said step out." The air thickened. This wasn't right. She had followed protocol to the letter. She had identified herself. Yet this officer, this man, was treating her like a threat. She had seen this before. Read the reports. Watch the footage. And she was not about to become the next headline. Her pulse remained steady, but her mind was already running through options. She knew how quickly these situations could spiral, and she knew how to survive them. Before she could decide her next move, the officer reached for her door handle. And that's when she knew. This wasn't just a traffic stop. This was something else entirely. But Veronica Caldwell hadn't spent her career preparing for moments like this, just to let fear dictate the outcome. She wasn't going down without a fight. The witness kept his phone steady, the red recording light glaring like an unblinking eye. Veronica didn't dare move. Carr still had the gun in his grip, but something had shifted. The confidence, the untouchable arrogance, had drained from his face, replaced with something tighter. Something bordering on panic. Then, doors flew open. Officers poured out, hands hovering near their holsters but not drawn. They didn't know what they were walking into. Then one of them recognized her. Director Caldwell. The name sliced through the tension like a bullet. Carr barely reacted, but the second officer stiffened. His mouth parted, but no words came out. The one who had spoken, a lieutenant, judging by the insignia on his uniform, looked between them, scanning the scene. Veronica, standing with her hands raised, Kars still gripping his weapon, the second officer frozen in uncertainty. And then, the witness, camera rolling, documenting every second. Veronica seized the moment. She dropped her hands, not in surrender, but in reclamation. "Lieutenant, I want these officers detained. Right now." The command was unwavering, unshaken. The second officer took a step back. "Hold on." Not another word. Her voice was a blade, slicing through whatever excuse he was about to throw out. "I know exactly what this was. And so does he." She motioned toward the witness, whose phone remained locked on them. The lieutenant hesitated. Veronica could see the gears turning. This wasn't just a bad stop. This was a career-ending disaster for anyone who let it slide. Kars must have realized it too. His fingers finally uncurled from the gun, letting it drop back into the holster.
Slow.
Controlled. But his expression seething. Veronica held his gaze. This time, she wasn't the one afraid. "This is a misunderstanding," Kars muttered. The words were weak, like even he knew they wouldn't hold. Veronica tilted her head slightly.
"Oh."
"Then let's clear it up at headquarters. Call internal affairs. Call the DA." She stepped closer, her voice low, lethal. "This isn't going away." The second officer swallowed hard, his face paling. And just like that, the balance of power had shifted.